Yeah. Thank you. All right. Good morning, everybody. Today's daf Mem Zayin, Ksubas.
Amud Beis.
Yeah. So we're on the bottom of Mem Vav Amud Beis, the bottom, a couple lines in the bottom. So yesterday we introduced a Mishnah regarding the father's rights to his daughter, to her kedushin. Rashi points out, right? We're talking about a katana and a nara. So we had the source yesterday by the fact that since he can go at that by a nara, when she leaves her master, there is no money to that master, but there's another master of hers that does get money, i.e., so the father, who is her quote unquote master, right? So therefore he gets money if he gives her off for kesef kedushin. So that was by kesef. So 2 lines on the bottom, shtar bia. So what about the other ways for a person to go ahead and do the transaction of the kinyan of kedushin? Right, it's kesef shtar bia. What are shtar bia? Minolan samakrav haisel ish achir seizkish havias laadati. So the different types of haviyah, right, is a reference to kedushin. So those are compared to one another. So just like the kesef kedushin, the father can go ahead and quote unquote sell his daughter, right, or give his daughter over for erusin and receive the money. So too, he can give her over and receive the shtar on her behalf, or go ahead and give her over to her arus for bia l'shem kedushin. Fine. Bottom line is zakam misyasa, and also he gets her Metzias, anything that she finds, she finds a necklace, she has to goes to the father. So her answer is Mishum Eva. Because of Eva, right? Because of animosity, right? Perhaps if the father is supporting the daughter and all of a sudden, she finds things that she gets to keep it, perhaps there'll be animosity. So therefore we say the father goes ahead and gets it. Now, B'maisi Adel, he also gets her wages. All right, interesting. All right, so Maisi Adel, so Manola, Damarav, Unamarav, Minay Lamaisha, Shemaisa Habas La'av. How do we know that the wages of the daughter go to the father? Shnamar, the pasuk says, "V'chiyimkor ish as bito li'ama." Man sells his daughter as a ama ivria, right? As a maidservant. So ma ama ma'asidel rabba, just like an ama, her ma'asidel go to her father, to her master, abbas. So to a daughter, ma'asidel her wages go to her master. Maybe that's only katana, the matzi mezavin law, right? Where he's able to go ahead and sell her. But a nara who is different than a katana, that he cannot go ahead and sell his nara into servitude to somebody else, right? Ma'asidel di dahavi. Right? Then maybe her ma'aseh is her own. So mistaver daviyavi. No, it's still logical to say that her ma'aseh go to the father. Why? So that as ma'aseh lav davia elaha. Right? If you want to say that you have to have me, the ma'aseh are not the father's. But if the father has the ability to marry her off, right? He doesn't have the rights to her. If you want to say that he doesn't have the rights to her wages, but he has the rights to her giving over to give her to marriage. So hey, right? How can he go ahead and marry her off? She's at her 9-to-5 job, and she's working for herself. She gets her own wages. How come
She's already a nara.
Okay.
So she's 12. She's so what rights does he still have?
We just said it clearly yesterday, right? There's a whole Mishnah. He's allowed to go ahead and marry her off. She's still under his Lunarel Beis Saviha, right? When she's in Nara, she's in Beis Saviha. Yeah. She's still she's not a Bulgaris, right? So the Nara is like in between. So we say over here that if she's working over at Baskin Robbins, right? Her 9-to-5 job, right? And he says, you got to get out of here. 3:00 chuppah, right? Mazel tov, right? Get out of here. So how can he go ahead and give her the kamavatal of a ma'aseh, right? He's taken away from her wages. She's like, what do you mean? I get my minimum wage job over here. How can you remove me from my job, right? It must be that her wages go to him, and therefore he has the right to be mavatal her from her melacha.
I said this yesterday with Amir.
Yeah.
But normally there's an Indian that you can't marry a man can't take a wife off of she has to agree to it.
Yeah.
Now, in the case when the father marries her off, does she have to agree to it? She has no rights at all at that point.
The Arison. No, the Arison is his. The Nesuin, right? That is the husband, right? But the Arison is the
Then she gets the mule.
right.
But me and the brother does.
No, I think her father does it too.
The what? The Mian is the sister, right? The sister of that, right? Right. Right.
She can't go out when she's 12.
Right. But the Nesuin is up to her. The Nesuin, the full marriage. The Arison.
So if she says I want to stay married, she can then get, I guess.
Yes, I get l'chara. Yeah.
She can still do me while she.
No. So we had a question: at what point is the miyun done? Right? It was only Bogeris or Nara or even a Katana. We still learn if she does miyun and then she gets married again by her sister, right? The miyun multiple times. Obviously, she could do then miyun from an earlier age before, while she can still be married off, right? So we had the machlokes in Yivam, right. So now. But nevertheless, he's mavatar from her wages. So all this. Okay, so say, you know what? Maybe the father says, okay, I'll cover your hour of the missed wages. I'll give you the whatever minimum wages now, your $12, right? Or maybe he marries her off at night when she's on her off day. He's not being mavatar her from her malacha. Or he marries her off at Shabbos and Yom Tov, right? So maybe those times during the kasser, he's not being mavatar from malacha. So Ella Katana Loitzricha. Rather, we must say by the Katana, we don't need a pasuk to teach us that he gets her wages by a Katana. Of course, they go to him. So Hash Zvuni Mizavin La Ma'aseh Demi Bay, right? But the fact that he can sell her as a maidservant, certainly he gets her wages. So I don't need a pasuk. Ella. So if that's the case, so what's the pasuk of Achim Kor Ish as Bita le'ama Kitzricha le'nara? It's referring to a nara. That the nara he gets the wages of his 12 and a half year old daughter. And he also gets Bacheres Nadarel to be nullify her vows, Minol and Dechsiv, Minorel Beis Savia, right? While she's a Nara, she's in Beis Savia, right? She's still part of her father's household. Well, Mekabel as Gita, and he's Mekabel her get, Minolan, right? He's Mekabel her get from Arison. So where do we know Minolan? Dechsiv, the pasuk says, right? So he says Minolan. So the pasuk says v'yatza v'haisa v'ishkes yitzil lehavya. We make a comparison between yitzil lehavya, just like he's able to be mekabel her kedushin, so too he's able to be mekabel her get. But this is only said by an arusa, because once she's in the suah, she's completely out of the father's possession. And he cannot eat the peros bechaya. Knows if the father, let's say she inherits from her mother's side and she has land and a trust or whatever it is, the father cannot go ahead and consume the peros. Rather, go ahead and put that in a bank account for her for your future use or for her to get married, whatever it is. So, like our mission says, the father cannot go ahead and eat the peros during the life of the daughter. And Rabbi, unless she dies, then he would inherit her. And he can go ahead and use it for whatever he wants. However, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, have peros b'chaya. No, he can go ahead and consume it. Why? What's the machlekes? Tanakama saver. Tanakama holds like this. I understand by the husband. They were masaking, the brother were masaking the fruits. Team Cain, mim no parik, right? Because if that's the case, then if the husband wouldn't go ahead and get the fruits from her land for Nichse Melug, right? Then he wouldn't go ahead and redeem her. Alav ma'ikal meimar, right? But the father, what are you going to say, right? He's not going to have the mina of le parik, right? That if he doesn't get the fruits, he's not going to go ahead and redeem her. But even without that, she's held in captivity. He's going to go ahead and ransom her, even without the money, right? So therefore, in this case, he cannot go eat the fruits because he's not going to feel animosity. Hey, I'm not getting your fruits. I'm not going to go ahead and redeem her, right? Or ransom her, right? He's going to ransom her. It's his daughter. For Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda Saver, no, Avnami Mimna V'Lei Parik, right? Saver, Kisa, Nikita, Aleh, Tiza V'Tibarik Nafsha. He says, you know what? She has her own money, right? Go in her bank account, her savings. She has a kid's savings account at the bank. Let her go ahead and ransom the money from there. I'm not paying for it. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, we don't want that. So therefore, the father gets the payers, right? And according to Tanakama, no, the father will go ahead and ransom her, even if he doesn't get her payers. And he says, if she gets married, yes, I love Habal Shu Eichel Paris, right? So he's even more than that the husband does he Paris. Tanrabanan Kasavla Paris Sus the Caleb Shevo Imab Mi base Avio, the base Bal. So let's say she's getting married, her father writes over, to the future husband. You get Paros from her karka, you get Sus, you get Caleb, you get these different rights that they will come from her father's house to her husband's house. Mesa, and then she dies. Right, so this is all put in the dunya, right? Then he gives her for the Erusin, and then she dies during the Erusin, right? Mesa, he doesn't get these things. Mr. Rav Nassan Aimer Amru Zaka Habal B'Dvarim Halu, and he said in the name of Rav Nassan argues, and he says no, the husband does go ahead and get it. So that's now. This is a case of the father writing over in her nedunya, in her dowry, to go in order to get married. This is what she's bringing into the marriage. So the Gemara says, "Lema beplusa the Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah for Rabbanan." What's in the Chagos between Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah and the Rabbanan? Kamiflagi. The Tanah we learn in the Mishnah. Nis Amla Nis Garsha. Now, if she dies, right, she becomes widowed. Excuse me. He dies, she becomes widowed, or she gets divorced. Now there's money coming back to her. Meaning asuin, or beimin asuin beimin erusin goybesakol. She receives the entire ksuba, right? Whether it's just the 100, 200, or whether the guy is a rich guy and he says 1,000 Zeus, right? She gets it all. Doesn't matter, erusin asuin. If it's from the Nisuin is a full marriage, then she gets the full 1,000 Zeus. Erusin, however, was only during the Arusa. They were just betrothed, and then he died. So basula gavi masai v'abadamana. Then she only gets either 200 or 100, depending on her whether she was a basula or a balua or bula. Shalom. Right. Because the husband only wrote it, the extra 800 zuz, let's say in that case, because, in order to, to be his full wife. But she was a full wife, she doesn't get that. She only gets from the ksuba, let's say 200. So over here, maybe it's the same thing, right? There's dying during the erusin, right? The one who holds in one case, hey, you don't get the extras, would say the same over here. And then the one says you get the extras, you do. So Gar's answer is no. So Laman Domar Loizach like Rabbi Ezra ben Azariah. Let's say the one who's not safe, it's like Rabbi Ezra ben Azariah, who says that since the husband he doesn't get the extra payros and all that, it's the same thing all here like Rabbi Ezra ben Azariah that she only gets the standard 200 zuz. Laman Domar Zach, and the one says no, she gets the payros and the extra, all those extra things that the father wrote over into the dunya. He gets that. Kirabanu, like Kirabanu, who hold that, yeah, even if he dies during the Erusin, she collects the entire 1,000 zuz. So Gemara says no, low. Maybe it's not the case. Maybe everyone knows like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that if he dies, the husband dies during Erusin, she only collects the minimum of her ksuba. Only if it's during the Nisuin does she get all the tosefas. So the one that says she doesn't go ahead and get the extras is what about the one holds that the husband does get the extra payros and the extra Ksus and Kalim, who is in that case? Why does he get that? So from him, from the husband to her with Kaider Ksuba. The only reason why I wrote is, hey, for you to live in my house with me. And doing that, only then will you collect the extra, 800 zuz or the extra tosefas Ksuba. About Medida Ladide. But let's say from her to him and her dowry for the guy to go ahead and be engaged to this girl, right? She wasn't such a big catch, right? So the father, wrote all these extra things here. Right? They want to go ahead and, get engaged to her, make her part of the family, make a shit up between the two families. So in order to get the Erusin process, that was given over in order to make a connection between the families. So just the Erusin qualifies for that aspect, and therefore, in addition of the nedunya, also he would be able to collect the peiros and ksus and extra kalim that were in there. That wasn't just for the nesuin; that was even for the engagement, the betrothal, in order for them to be like mishpucha. Fine. And then we say chayiv b'znoseha. He is obligated in her mizonos. Right, just go back to the Mishnah. That was Habal, right? He's also chayiv in her mizonos, right? This is going back on the husband, right? Because we said, right, the husband, if he, more than that, the husband is able to go ahead and eat the peiros bechayeha, and he's also obligated, right, to support her, right? And I'm just reading from the Mishnah, and to ransom her and to bury her, right? That's what the Mishnah said. Now, chayiv b'znoseha, so Tanur Rabbanan, take the mizonoseh tachas ma'aseh. They said, you know why you got to support her? Because you get her wages, right? That's a fair trade-off. You get her wages, then you have to support her. The kruosa tachas ksubasa, and he has to pay for her burial, right, in place of, so that's his obligation to her, and then her what she gets back is she'll get a ksuba at the end of the marriage. Therefore, bal eichel peros. Therefore, the husband eats peros. Gemara says peros, man the karshamayil. Who's talking about Paris? Paris wasn't mentioned here. What are we doing? The fichach. What are you talking about? So Gemara says no. Chazrim Achzor is basically part of Achzor. What it says. This is what I meant to say. Tikna b'zanoseha tachas ma'aseh yadel. So they were masake the mizonos in lieu of, right, in place of her wages. Uperkana, and then her ransoming tachas peros. And that which he has to ransom her is because he's allowed to go ahead and eat the fruit from the nichsei maluk. The kurosa, and he's obligated to bury her takas ksubasa, right? In place of that, or either if she dies first, he would pay for burial. If he dies first, she would get the ksuba. Lefikach, therefore, bal eicha peros. Therefore, the husband needs the peros because we said he gets the peros in exchange for he's obligated to go ahead and ransom her.
This whether she's a katana or she's 40 years old.
Yes, and ksuba. Now, my lefikach was lefikach. So Maldim, what would you have said? Michala nechlinu, anuchi nanchinu. Maybe you'd say that since he's getting the rights to the peiros in order to ransom her, maybe he's not allowed to touch the peiros. Maybe it has to go ahead and sit in escrow, right? Put an escrow account just in case, right? It's needed to go ahead and ransom her, right? And then if you can't touch it, you can't be oichel the peiros. Team K, nimna v'lei parik, right? Because maybe you think that, because if not, right, the fruits aren't there. In other words, he can see he uses the money every year, a couple $1,000. All of a sudden, he got a big bill for ransom. Hey, you got to give $10,000. He said, I don't got the money, right? So maybe you would think that he's not allowed to eat the peiros, just put it in a side account. No, this is even better, right? Right? It says no. This is even better because let's say her ransom was 100,000, and the amount that he was getting was less than that. But he has good feelings towards her, so therefore he'll pay whatever it is, right? So therefore, it's not necessarily a dollar for dollar. We're worried the money will be gone. By the fact that he's allowed to be eichel the peiros year after year, therefore he's going to ransom her at whatever cost it is. We're now looking for an exact fair exchange. Maybe we'll just switch it around. Who says each one of these are the mizonos? Is maybe the mizonos is in place of the peiros, right? That he supports her because he gets the peiros from nichsei maluk. Right? No, something which is common is exchanged for as common. In other words, we say mizonos, right? Her daily support, and my seda is mitzuyan. Those things are common. Those things are every day. So therefore, right? So he supports every day, and she works every day. So therefore, it's a fair exchange. And the other, Shinamatsui is talking about a case of her being held captive. It's not such a common thing. And neither is her bringing in a nichsei maluk, which is peiros producing, also not a common thing. So therefore, we'll be masakein that, okay, this uncommon thing will match that uncommon thing.
And burial is a one-time shot, and ksuba is a one-time shot.
Right. So those are also similar, right, to the end of the marriage, right? Whichever one, I guess, whoever dies first, unless it's a divorce, right? She would also get it. So Amar Rabba, High Tana Saver, so the following Tanas holds, Mizonos Midaraisa. The Mizonos, right, that which is stipulated in the Ksuba, right, the Mizonos is Midaraisa. Where do you see that? The Tani in Brisa, the Pasuk says, She'era, right? So just reading from the Pasuk, it's brought on the side of the air, it says, I'm just reading, Imacheres Hikachlo, if he takes, the master, he takes another wife, right? She'era Ksusa V'nosa Le'igor. He should not go ahead and, right, not minimize the she'era, kasusa, the ona, right? So those are different obligations that sounds like he has to do to all of his wives, right? So what does that mean? She'era elu mizanos. She'era is referring to mizanos. Right? Other places we found the word share refers to sustenance. So therefore we see that he cannot minimize the amount of sustenance that he provides his wife. So you see over here that since he doesn't take away from the amount he sustains his wife, obviously he has to go ahead and sustain his wife with mizonos. And kasusa is kamashmal, that her clothes, they provide clothes for her, and onoso zono, right? That is relations. So which is a reference in other cases in Torah, as benaisi, right? So another case where the lashon of ta'ana, right, is referring to relations. So therefore, we see that he has to provide on a deraisa level mezainis, right, clothing and relations with his wife. And Rabbi Elazar Omer sheira zo ona says no, sheira is ona. B'cheinu Omer ish. Al kol she'er basaro lo yisikru legalos erva. Right, ksus. Right, so that knows it's a reference to share is a reference to ona. It's to arayas and kasusa kamashmo, and kasusa is their clothing kamashmo, and onosa elam mazonos, and onosa is mazonos. So it's opposite. V'cheinu Omer v'yanecha v'yaraviyecha. Right, so it says of Araviyecha. So it says over there, right, and he afflicted him, right, and he made him hungry. So you see that v'yanecha, right. Ona is referring to food. And one other sheet of the Rav Ezra and Yaakov Aimer, not necessarily the rise of the bottom, but he says Sheira Kasusa. What do we learn from there? Lefum Sheira Tank Kasusa. Right? So according to her body, right, then that's the type of clothing you give. Right? Don't give her young clothes, right? Whatever, I don't know where young kids shop, right? For older women, or buy clothes that are more appropriate for an older woman, for a young woman. Rather, you should buy the appropriate, right? Right? And also it says ksusa v'onasa, right? Her clothing and her ona. So l'fumanasa, right? According to the time of the season. Ona is also time of reference season. That's how you should give her clothing. Right? New clothing, which is not worn out, it's much warmer. Don't give that in the summer. Don't give worn out clothes in the winter, because worn out clothes in the winter will not keep you warm. So therefore, give appropriate clothing. Give age-appropriate clothing and seasonal-appropriate clothing, and that is the obligation upon the husband. All right, we'll stop here. Do that. Shkeich, everybody. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, we'll same time and continue from here.
Okay.